Jama, welcome.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. Happy 2025.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it feels like we're really moving forward, huh?
We are nailing it. For a year that started with a terrorist attack. And then my hometown burned down. It has been, it's been a bit of a year in this month and a half. Yeah.
Because 2024 wasn't enough.
No. Well, wasn't that cute? We thought that was
know.
oh, this is so hard. And
It
then
can only
2025 was
settle
like,
down.
Wah.
We're here because you had done People in Common before. You did, I think, 3 episodes.
Sure did.
It's like a mini podcast.
Little limited run.
Yes.
That's right.
And you need to do more.
And Phil sent me an email.
Yeah. And I'm like, let's do more.
Let's do this.
Because we were talking a little bit earlier about how I think people with our ideas are not competing in all these spaces, and we tend to talk to ourselves.
Which we're doing right now.
Well, which is funny because
others.
I don't want to talk to other people.
Well, I think that's our problem. That's why the podcast is called People in Common.
People in Common.
Ooh.
It's the sweet part of the Venn diagram.
That's right. That's exactly.
It's not the
right.
outer.
Well, the world has gotten a little scary.
Would that be the purple
and it's a
part?
little easy. The red blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Purple's a great color. It's the color of royalty.
It is. It was like royalty. I was thinking
We are
Crown Royal, and it is purple. Shows you where my brain goes.
Hey, look,
Right.
It's 2025, baby. Sometimes. That's right. People in Common was a limited run podcast a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was an incredible experience. And the vision is possibly more relevant now. But the vision was always, wow, things are getting weird. And I personally, I feel this. I don't know exactly what to do. And so that was the original idea was I want to talk to my heroes. That was the idea, is I want to talk to the people who I respect and are on the front lines of doing things. And I want to hear what those people, what do they think's going on right now? And what the hell do we do about it?
Right. Share it too, because
Exactly.
having that perspective that you have.
Well, and that was the podcast.
Because
right?
I don't know who your heroes are, but I know that you and I align on a lot of things we think and believe, and I need to know who those are.
Yeah.
And I want to know what they think as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I want to spread it and pick it up
and spread it. I think that's the other piece of it is I wanted to do that, but I actually wanted to share that because I felt this from everyone, and I think I thought it was a lot of people wondering what to do way back then. Guess what? That is literally every conversation I have is mostly people being like, what the hell do we do?
We deal with politics. Because it's
not,
wild, yeah.
But it's not in politics, but it's not. It's I think for a lot of people that's not.
Well, it's the point of politics, right?
It's the point of what do we do together?
Right.
That's all politics is. Democracy and
is
politics.
To take that and turn it into policy and turn it into
That's right.
new housing and turn it into
Streets we can drive on and
turn it
firefighters
into
come to
relief
your house when you need
for
it.
people that suffer
yeah.
from a disaster and all of that. That's really the point of politics.
That's exactly right. And it's become a dirty word, but that's ultimately how we have to figure out how to do things together. And so that was the other piece is I want to go have those conversations with my personal heroes, but more importantly, I want to translate that and offer it to all of the people, including myself, but the rest of the folks who, like me, are wondering how to be in this world and what to do. And so that's always been the original idea. And to your question, I started with the people who I admire most. And the reason Phil and I connected is because we were going to interview Marshall Ganz, who is someone that we both have a lot of respect for, who is a community organizer. I was lucky enough to teach with him and be in his class and then one of his teaching fellows at the Kennedy School. but I had grown up not just hearing about Marshall Ganz and Cesar Chavez, who he worked with, but participating in the grape strikes. And we never ate grapes as a child. I thought, right? But he is a hero in my family lore. I come from people who admire the instigators and the people who stand up for what they believe in. And so Marshall is a great example. The other people I interviewed are Father Greg Boyle, who started Homeboy Industries, which is now the world's largest gang rehabilitation program. I'm actually wearing a Homeboy shirt right now.
Oh, nice.
This is one of their silk screens that they started by giving jobs to folks who were otherwise going to be part of gangs. But now it is an incredibly healing place where anyone who needs healing can go through the steps to come out of the gang life. The stories are incredible, and Father Greg is a gem.
What's funny is those things usually start not with the idea of I'm going to be the largest rehabilitation. It's
very good point. Yes.
It's I'm going to help this person. Who said it? Help a person, help the world.
Help the world. Yeah.
And that every once in a while it'll catch in a place that really desperately needs that.
Yeah.
And a good model will emerge, and people will take that and expand on it.
Yeah.
And which gets us back to the moment we're in, right?
That is the only thing, right? And this is when you reached out. That's why I was so excited, because as we talked about, the only reason I wasn't already doing this podcast again, because I think it's super relevant, is I don't have the skill set to take it to more people, right?
Oh, to get it out, right?
To get it out and to make it happen and get it out there, and that's
or
what
just
we're
to be
talking about.
There for those looking for that space, right?
I want to be there, right?
Yeah. And take these ideas and put them out, get them out there. I forget the interview I was listening to, but this person worked or was part of the Stanford Internet Observatory.
Oh, uh-huh.
And she was talking about how the traditional response of don't respond to certain things, don't give it oxygen, don't worked better in the past because there were limited sources of information, whereas now so much can happen without you ever knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to take, and so the example that she used was like during COVID, that the CDC would put out a white paper on a PDF that was downloadable 3 links down in the hierarchy of the website, isn't going to compete with TikTok for the pseudo
accessible
suck on a dryer to cure COVID.
The famous bleach.
Yes, and I think her point is that I don't want to be an ageist, but the old traditional means or older people who tend to be making policy need to realize that you've got to be where the people are.
Yeah.
And so your white paper's great, the PDF's great, and it has a lot of valuable and important information, but nobody's going to see it.
Please try to put that into a way that people will actually interact with it and access it.
And so you got to get into those. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
In fact, I saw something, I think we're all kind of searching for like an online home these days. I've been substacking some.
Oh.
And I saw a wonderful, where National Geographic has like a new history influencer. That's just what they're going to do.
Whoa.
National Geographic. I don't know how old that publication is, but it's...
But I personally own copies that are over 65 years old.
Real history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not like mechanic who's curious about history, who's really good at posting videos.
Yeah.
I think the point is to get, and so that's the point of being out there, right? Being in those places. Like a 60 Minutes interview used to be like everybody would know what happened on Monday.
That's right.
And now it really is not.
No, it is not. And at least...
And it sucks in a way because I understand the long form and I get it. And I love the... But I got into an argument with somebody. People are scrolling their phones for a reason.
Yeah.
And you can go into why the reasons are, but it's real.
Well, you can rage against it or not.
Right.
It is what's happening. I think you have to be where people are, and where people are is staring at their phones, no question. And so hence podcast is a good answer to that. Getting out there on social media is a good answer to that. I also I don't think this is the opposite point, but there's an in real life part about so one of the lessons that I'm trying to learn and that I'm grappling with is there is a horrifying vacuum and need for people to connect.
Oh my God, I have good news.
Person.
I have good news.
Talk to me.
Yeah, no. And that's AI.
That's right. Tell me more how that works.
I was looking for new chairs yesterday.
Ooh, okay.
Here's a yesterday story.
These are fine.
These aren't bad
dog
chairs.
on these chairs, but
and I was an old Craigslist,er, right?
Yes.
You would go to Craigslist.
Still exists,
you wanna,
right?
Yeah, no. A Facebook Marketplace is the it spot for chairs these days. And so I had to go onto Facebook, and I don't go onto Facebook much. And I have had this theory in my head that with artificial intelligence, we're literally going to be in a flood of like garbage content and rehashed media and just and the size of the internet just data wise is going to double with junk.
Well, but even scarier, the reason it's such garbage, like that's a very real possibility, is because as much content as there is, its lowest common denominator race to the bottom, like it's not enough to train the models. That's the craziest part, right?
Right.
But point taken.
And then the removal of friction too in creating things, and the speed in which what would take an hour or two can take 5 minutes now. And where I think that leads to a fork in the road. I'm joking. The Twitter fork in the road.
Get it?
Get it? A fork in the road of we're going to have things that are created in. I mean, everything will be created in part with AI.
Yeah.
But I think I think another byproduct of that is going to be in person's going to start becoming a lot more important.
Agreed.
And you're going to have live theater and live music because it's literally going to be the only way that you can know that something's pure, right? Or at least made by people.
Or taking tests live, right? We go to the British model now, right? Nothing matters except what you can spit out onto paper by hand at the end of.
In chess, they call that over the board.
Yeah. Okay.
Chess.
Perfect.
They have online chess is huge, and there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
But for the
real stuff.
For the real stuff.
The real test, yeah.
You got to sit down on the table
and
touch the pieces. Yeah.
Well, and I think, so having spent some time in the AI world when I was at Responsible Innovation Labs, what we were doing is writing the startup guide to responsible AI. So not if you're the Google but if you're first of all, you do not have time to understand even the latest what's happening on AI, let alone...
You
how to do that in a responsible. I do.
You're all up in the middle of this stuff. Yeah.
I keep finding this is and it's because I love smart people working on really hard stuff. So that's where I always find myself on purpose, right? Every single time. And so in this case, we were digging into grappling with what does responsible AI even mean, and then what are the steps? What do you do? The trick, I think you are correct. It makes, for people who are freaking out about the jobs that will look, we've already been transformed by AI, right? Google Maps, y'all. It's not to say that I don't think it's worth freaking out about. It is. However, I think learn the right lessons. Dig in on the stuff that's actually crazy and fight against it. And then take full advantage of the things that AI makes incredibly easier. And you can use AI to take out bias. Surprise. Right? Now, let's talk about the bias that's built in, because who's building it and all of these things. But let's use it for good, right?
Well, right.
That's the trick.
Well, because it can be a ladder or it can be like a recliner, right?
Okay, I like that. Yeah. What would you say these chairs are?
They're getting a little recliny. I like them better than the other chairs.
I feel very comfortable.
But like you can extend things and reach further and expand. the potential in medicine.
Best and sadly only
Protein. Wasn't going to protein folding. I was more like data mining. But tell me about protein.
Oh, protein folding is the best example of what AI can be.
Positive potential of AI.
Absolutely. And this is what everybody talks about. Speaking of a great podcast on this is Hard Fork.
It's not deep fake.
To go back to
porn.
the fork metaphor.
Yeah.
No, that is definitely what it's used most for. Yeah. But no, the absolute best use case for AI is transforming research. Now, and the most famous and most wonderful example so far is protein folding.
Okay.
That you can get AI to do calculations and to find things. The sad part is to my knowledge, and please correct me, to my knowledge, that's one of the only places where the promise has been realized.
Well, we're podcasting, so
no one's going to correct me just yet.
Right, we're holding ourselves to higher standards than like
That's
olive oil cures.
That's right.
Pancreatic cancer. You know?
Although it tastes good, so go for it.
I know,
but
yeah, and
anyway, but also
I appreciate
data
the
mining
effort.
on
Yeah.
protein.
Protein folding. So
protein folding is like that is the medical research is kind of the best and brightest hope for AI to solve problems quickly. Can we just cure cancer? Come on, AI, let's do this. Well, not yet, but that's the potential.
It might even be there in the data.
That's right. And guess what?
And
it's very
data
rare.
Analysis is what these large language models are really good at.
And they're getting better every moment. This even the very accessible versions of this stuff, Google's, OpenAI's deep research. So that's it's another version, another model. It costs $200 a month, but it revolutionizes how you can do research. It is mind blowing. Like what I have seen so far.
Oh wow!
Is
what have you seen?
Mind-blowing. Just take anything you care about. Even obviously, this is incredible for researchers and people whose job.
By the way, this is how Facebook fucked up politics in 2016 or 2015.
Deep research.
Yeah.
Ah.
What was it? Cambridge Analytica.
Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Anyway.
No. Well, I think that's exactly the point.
Good lesson.
That's exactly
right.
the point. AI, like everything else, like all technology, is a tool, and it can be absolutely used for evil. And it is being used for evil. There are plenty of examples.
Right.
It is also being used for good, protein folding, right? It is a tool.
I still don't know what protein folding is.
Okay, fair enough. Let me make my point and then we'll go back.
Okay.
The point is, if you don't actually set the rules and decide together
and have the conversations about what ethical use is and what,
Now, and I'm not surprised that we're not able to do that
I wrote
on
mine
AI.
down somewhere.
Good for you.
For my own personal use.
Oh, see, that's a start. But if we can't do that together as a group of humans, that's what, as we just discussed, that's what politics and democracy and society is all about. But if we're not able to do that on the basics, like if we can't even agree on what set of facts we're going to use, if at all, then we certainly are not going to be able to grapple with AI and what's its. Ultimately, we have to decide, does it serve humans or do we serve it? What is even it? That's a whole nother conversation that I find fascinating. Okay, and sorry, protein folding.
Yes.
I'm trying to avoid your question because
you're not going to do it justice. It's okay.
Well, the thing is, I've got a pretty shallow understanding.
These are big concepts.
The point of it is, though, in the DNA structure, there is something about protein folding that, because of your incredible ability to do these calculations at a rate that no human ever even could, there's just something possible. We've discovered new things and learned things that we just wouldn't even have access to without AI. And
that reminds me
of
two things, and that's why I asked. One of the very early AIs, and this shows the small, petty world that sometimes I dabble in, which is so much fun. But like somebody invented an AI to play Q*bert, and this was 10 years ago.
Okay.
You remember Q*bert and the kids won't remember Q*bert, but Q*bert was a game where there was like a isometric pyramid that you would hop on.
Oh.
And it was very simple.
Okay.
And so they developed this AI to play Q*bert.
Oh.
But the AI did not play Q*bert the way a person played Q*bert because it's not a person. Right?
Turns out.
And the AI discovered that if it did a certain set of moves, it would exploit a flaw in the programming that nobody had ever known existed.
See?
Nobody had ever known existed, and it would literally create like infinite points or whatever.
I feel like maybe that's what's happening to our democracy right now.
Yeah, and it just stunned. They're like,
we all just were walking
It was-
around. Oh, guys, we're cool, right? We've got these norms that we just all follow,
oh my
and
God,
everybody's
those-
cool.
The norms.
And then somebody comes along and says, "Actually, if you just do these set of moves, you can really rip a whole society apart overnight." And you're like,
right.
"Oh, oops.
What if we can just corrupt the norms?
Ooh, what if these were not laws anyway? They were just norms. Ooh, whoops. Probably should have written
What
that
if you
down.
what if you don't call it cheating and just call it really being really smart?
You sound like my children.
That
What
was-
if?
Oh my God, I know. How old are your kids? I'm 14 and 11. So
Ooh, I've
my
got
kids.
11
Yeah.
and 8 and 6.
What is going on with 11?
The
man?
babies. I know. Do you remember 11? That's what's going on with 11. You could not
Yeah, it was
pay me to
insane.
do it again. You
Well,
could not.
Junior high school. But
I know. Mine's going into junior high school at 11. He will be 11 when he starts junior high. Oh,
oh, yeah, we're already. We are
oh,
11.
God, I didn't even think about that.
We're gonna be 12. That's the whole pre-K thing. I still don't have a good firm grasp on what months that is.
It's all 4-year-olds now. It doesn't matter to us because we have 11-year-olds. So, anyway.
I was part of this health trust, and we were going. So the short version of the story is Kaiser was giving a presentation on a particular cocktail of diabetes medication.
Ooh, you have diabetes 1.
I do not.
No.
I have none of the diabetes.
Got
But I was part of the decision-making process
At
on,
Kaiser.
and we were considering at that time the health plan I was participating in, helping make policy for, was deciding whether or not to use Kaiser Pharmacy.
Ah, okay.
Because it was this complicated thing where you were Kaiser, but you would get your prescriptions filled outside. The crazy back in the 21st century or the 20th century.
The 1900s. I love saying that to my kids.
It's
They're like,
insane.
"You lived in the..." I'm like, "Yeah, for
Yeah.
a very long part of the 1900s."
But just
Sorry, go ahead.
by people, and this was people back then, right? Mining through the data that they already had, they had discovered that a particular cocktail resulted in an exponentially better outcome.
Whoa. Huh.
And that's just with people mining data that they had. And so their point is that we are really trying to be a 360 learning.
Yeah. Organization.
Yes.
Kaiser Thrive, right? That's
Thrive,
their whole.
right.
It was before Thrive, but still.
Yeah. And so they're like, that's why it's important. We want people in our program because everything talks to everything, and we have these sets of data
It makes
that
sense.
we can learn things from.
Yeah.
And then so I always go
Holistic.
back on that, and you apply AI to that,
Oh. Yeah.
and you can really do some things that it was already there.
yeah.
They just
That's
didn't
right.
know it.
That's right. And ultimately, again, with all tools, it's a combination of, heck yeah, let's leverage all the tech we can. And it has to be humans making these decisions on behalf of humans. What's good for humans?
Right.
That's all. It's not that complicated. They call it human in the loop. There's all kinds of ways to but it's pretty simple actually, right? Just make good decisions on behalf of your fellow humans.
Well, yeah, but then there's money involved.
Right.
There's the money part.
Shoot. Well, I give up then. No.
Well,
That's it. I'm out of here.
it's like we were talking about, like, somebody made a point, like Elon Musk is being disruptive.
True.
And
True. That's a true statement. Yeah.
um,
Grabbing power is
let's
another
ask
way to
why,
talk about
like
it.
what are his intentions? Because he doesn't have a long history of like philanthropy and trying to that is a sales pitch of his, I think, in certain things that that connects with people like us.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother coalition building thing. But I question his motives,
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I think it's pretty clear what the motives are. I think it's grabbing power and influence and money. I don't.
Yeah, what comes after money?
That's the problem. I have a unique perspective, I think, because I didn't grow up with money. But one of my early jobs was being employee number 1 on the Giving Pledge, talking to people like Elon Musk about, hey, don't you think you should probably just give some of this away? Why not?
Right.
The original idea was Warren Buffett and Bill and
Yeah,
Melinda Gates.
oh my God, the Giving Pledge, yes.
Yeah, talking to each other and saying, you know what, let's encourage others. This giving thing is awesome. You know what the world doesn't need more of, yachts. That's me talking.
Oh, don't even...
People might disagree.
The yachts have yachts.
I'm sure it's great, but that whole idea, obviously, great idea, and we were able to.
Why don't go back and, for those that don't know what it is, and I'm still not entirely sure. That's why I'm asking. But what was the key fundamental principle behind that project?
The Giving Pledge started literally with the idea.
And this was Gates, Buffett.
Warren Buffett and Bill and Melinda Gates wanted to encourage their fellow billionaires to think about giving. And so the ultimate, lots of really cool conversations about what are we really trying to do here? And it was about norms. It was about, let's change the norms. So less yachts and more giving. That was the goal. And what we landed on was give half or more. You can join our club, right? The Giving Pledge was, I pledge to give half or more of my wealth to good causes before I die.
That's it. That's what I was getting for.
Pretty simple concept. Proved a little too complicated for some folks, for sure. But I think when I look back and think about just the power, and I give Patty Stonecipher, who was the head of the Gates Foundation, so much credit here, in addition, obviously, to Warren Buffett and Bill and Melinda Gates, who made this happen, that the norms changed. The world is certainly not perfect.
Well, I guess that kind of put Bill Gates on blast too, right? Like he became
Tell me more. Yeah, please.
No, just becoming a target. You know.
No, interesting. Well, I think works both ways, right? Because I think historically, this was 2009.
I know. Oh, okay.
Is that right?
It's going back a ways.
Yeah, this is 2009. So this was post Microsoft being sued for this. Bill Gates had been in the center and been on blast.
No, but I mean, that was like post Microsoft Bill Gates, though.
That's right. Both. Yeah.
Kind of an important point of post Microsoft Bill Gates. Like, what am I going to do? What's my next chapter? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and they were already well into. This foundation was
they were doing a lot of good work already. Yeah. But the idea was like, come with us. You know.
I think that was the key. Is they were already known as folks who were doing this in a way that attracts a lot of people. Right. I think, to be factual about it, there was a lot of people who. Philanthropy, even still, sadly, is a lot of afterthought. But the idea of giving in a way that reflects not only your values, but that reflects your actual expertise, right? I think that was a relatively new concept. The Omidyars, right, that created the Omidyar Network, Pierre and Pam Omidyar, Bill and Melinda Gates, John and Ann Doerr. There were just a few of the role models who were out there saying, this is how it's going to get done. And the ones I named are also the ones that were doing philanthropy and impact investing, right? They were saying, look, we're not going to just make money over here and then pull a little bit of change from the other pocket and sprinkle it on some folks. We're going to bring our whole selves. We're going to bring that holistic vision and think about how do you actually solve some problems? Malaria, right? That was Bill Gates' passion, right? Liz, and you're like, we got so close. Polio, malaria, right? We're so close, guys. We're so close. It's crazy. So close. So an incredible.
I just had this weird thought, and that is that thinking of business.
Yeah.
Because people that are good at business, you can translate that
transferable skills.
Yeah,
absolutely.
To anything. Whereas there's not, I never thought of philanthropy that way.
Yeah.
And because if you're Bill Gates, and built up to it over time, but now there's just insert billionaire here who has a Jerry Maguire moment, right? and is like, I want to really go out and do some good. But it's
Yeah.
like it is its own thing,
Yeah.
and it is probably fraught with a lot of its own kind of shysters and hucksters and
Oh, yes.
yes.
Because to your point, there's money involved.
I'm like,
Yeah.
where's the Shark Tank for philanthropy? That would be great.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you have the
And there are actually some cool, they look like prizes, right? A lot like the Audacious Project, right, of TED and the X Prize and everybody has their own prize now, right? That's the same concept, right? And that's, to your point, that's the idea is like, why shouldn't we bring the rigor, which I am all for. And I think ultimately, philanthropy, though, is designed. The whole point of it is to solve small problems that can't be solved by the market. That's the
Right.
whole point of it. And so the whole point
oh my
is,
God, wait a minute, no capitalism, no philanthropy.
That's right. We could interview lots of good people on this topic. But philanthropy started with Andrew Carnegie during the industrial, like that is its origin story.
Well, and what's interesting is because the labels of like communists and the do-gooders get hung with all the labels.
Yeah.
But the irony is that it's another function of what I would think of as a regulated capitalist society that's
Yeah.
taking care of all its different needs,
Well, and
not just the profit motive.
that's right. That's exactly its point. Is the things that are not going to get taken care of naturally with a profit motive are philanthropy candidates, right? And the problem is, in my humble opinion, so let's take this
Your
all with a
opinion's
grain of salt.
Okay.
Its job is to do the catalytic, hard, complicated, controversial. That is the role of philanthropy. Is let's try. This might not be popular. It might not work. But if it does, it might actually solve a problem instead of just perpetuate a problem. And I think there's a lot.
So
even
that
well-meaning
audacious
folks,
kind of
yes.
reach is a critical component.
That's right. Because and there's a whole spectrum, but for the folks that are aimed at solving problems, big problems, you got to be bold, you got to be controversial, you got to try stuff, you got to be catalytic. You can't go into, there is stuff, soup kitchens will always need to exist. And that's awesome. Who doesn't love being part of
Right.
giving to others in such a direct and awesome way? Yes. And if you're on the philanthropy, part of the sort of philanthropy complex, and you're trying to solve big problems, don't be timid. Get out there, try some stuff, ruffle some feathers. You're unleashed. You don't have to be, you're not elected. You don't have to be answerable to the voters. You are like, get out there and do some stuff. And I give a lot of people, there's some great examples of people doing that, and some great examples of philanthropy, and some great examples of recipients of philanthropy they're the front lines people. Hopefully we're going to talk to some of those. People in common.
Yeah.
We're going to get some people in common. That's right.
Well, because I don't live in that world. I'm in like culturally, I live in kind of the pop cultural. It's got to go through a lot of different layers to make it to me. But
That's a good way to put it.
like,
It's mitigated.
God, thank God Mackenzie Bezos divorced
Woo!
and put some of that money back
Mackenzie
into
Scott is
Mackenzie Scott, right?
an incredible example.
Right.
She
Like, thank God.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. She is going, and so the day that I interviewed, I think it was the day before, a couple days before, that I interviewed Father Greg of Homeboy Industries. Mackenzie Scott had given Homeboy $20 million out of the blue and with no strings attached. Boom. That's how you do it.
Right?
You find the best people at their job and you give them general operating support for those philanthropy nerds. That means no strings attached. That means I'm not naming a building after myself. This is whatever you, the expert, Father Greg, you and your team are the experts. So here's
So
just
it's the Shark
a
Tank
check.
of, yeah.
It is exactly. Oh, very good point. She's doing the Shark Tank. She's quietly doing her research.
Yeah.
These folks they don't even know it's coming. This is how she's done it every single time. She just quietly figures out, hey, who's the best? I want to support some things in this area. Who's the best? She sends her people out. They quietly do their research, and then they just get a check. It's so cool.
I know, and I'm just thinking, what the fuck
And
would
how
have
fun
happened?
would that be?
Because without her, that
She's a pretty singular voice. So I think people
well,
have,
without her wealth and also
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
divided, other dark one,
we
like
can
that.
go there. I'm no fan.
That would have
I'm no
that would have
fan.
just completely gone the other way,
That's right. Well, it's a perfect example of what happens when unleashed. Right? This is, I think.
Well,
she's
we're
so
working
smart.
really hard to put women back in their place. So just so you know.
It's a weird. The Handmaid's Tale is coming out on Hulu soon. What
is
is
it?
happening?
Yeah, we need
the
that.
last season.
Yeah.
It's good timing, right? You're like, oh.
You're biting my choice.
It's
White man. You know what I mean? No, these are the
No,
these
people
are
are
the
actually saying that.
No, these are the things that young men are saying now. Yeah.
That is the most horrifying.
It's horrifying. They don't even know. It's like, do you even? And
It is. That honestly is the hardest part for me to understand, especially as a mom of 2 boys. That is my actual nightmare, to have somebody that I love speaking to people in that way. Obviously, in this case,
wings, they're all fucking perverts in the sense of not perverts.
Phil.
I'm just gonna say, not perverts in the sense of traditional creepy back of the magazine store perverts. They take everything that
They pervert.
decent,
The
that
actual meaning
decent
of the word.
people try to do, and they corrupt it.
They certainly tear it down. I think
Right.
what we're watching is a complete and utter destruction, right? There, with no thought about how to build it up. That
The FBI, for example, which is by no means world's greatest organization.
Sure, it's got some
right?
problems. I think we can all agree that. And USAID has some problems. Guess what, though?
Oh my God! But and particularly in the FBI's case, they're going to turn it
Yeah.
counter to its purpose, right? Just completely pervert it and
That's right.
turn it into
That's right.
a tool to attack political rivals.
Which is,
And the whole time claiming that's what they're trying to stop. But
Yeah.
they just
yeah.
fucking ruin everything.
Yeah. Well, I think the craziest, most insidious part is I don't think part of why I'm interested in talking and talking with people who are even more on the front lines than you and I is because I don't think people are paying attention
No, they aren't.
to the, like, those of us who are trying to
Are you
be
up
aware.
are you up on the Kendrick Lamar Drake thing?
I am very up on that. Thanks to
Dang
shout
it.
out Bill Burton.
I was trying to go somewhere, something
New.
you're not.
Yeah.
No, somewhere where you're not up on.
Okay.
Because
I am. Can I say though?
Yeah.
I love Kendrick Lamar.
right, we all do now.
Well, I'm a little bit sad. I loved some of the political statement stuff, but I feel like the opportunity was missed. Where was "We Gonna Be All Right"? Where were the protest songs?
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm just sad.
That's
Again,
that's part of the conversation.
That's his decision.
We're all trying to figure out that line, right?
And God
Or
bless
not
him.
we all, but the people that
But I guess that what I'm most interested in right now are the people who are finding the ways to be courageous. And I think there was a lot of courageous stuff there, but I think ultimately the stuff
definitely
he had the most
he beat
fun
out
with,
Snoop for the for the Courage Award.
yes, exactly. There was some great stuff in there, don't get me wrong, but there was an opportunity to be Bishop Marianne Buddy talking to Trump in a very calm,
Right.
cool, collected, and courageous way. And he decided to talk to Drake, which I get it,
Right.
but it's not the most important thing right now.
I
Look,
know.
it might be to you, but to me, it's not. That's
Right.
all. And
Right,
that's
right,
all
right.
I'm saying. That is who I'm interested in. I'm hoping she'll come on the podcast. I think for all of us, we have to take care of ourselves and our families. We have to invest in our local communities. We got to be the people we want to be, regardless of what else is going on in the
Right.
world. And we got to look for opportunities to be courageous.
And the
And
moments
everybody's gonna look
the,
different.
The moments will present themselves.
I think they will every day.
Not just for Kendrick Lamar.
That's
but,
right. That's right.
And I think that the more
Yeah.
people talk about it,
That's right. The more courage we can get.
who's it? Sassoon? the district attorney in the Southern District of New
Yes,
York.
who all quit. Yes.
And she started the
The exodus because of the Department of Justice
and
was
says,
trying to
I
say
will not drop those charges.
it's not going to do. I think we have to recognize that what's happening here is consolidation of power and control of the tools of government to serve one person. Two, if you count Musk, right? Maybe I don't know what their arrangement is, what their power sharing agreement is, but that's ultimately what's happening. And if you're not if you can't interpret it that way,
Right.
you're going to be confused. But
Right,
it's
right,
actually
right.
not that confusing. They're just consolidating power and control for themselves. And so anything that we can do to be courageous and say, that's not on my watch. No, this is not about you. This is about us.
And I think for a lot of people, and this is part of the reason why I want to take as many voices as possible and spread them as far as possible.
This. Yes.
Is I think that there's a lot of, I'm personally a big fan of quiet quitting.
It can be pretty effective.
Which is Gen Z's kind of answer to a lot of workplace problems. But I think there's going to be a whole, and it scares the shit out of, pardon my,
Please.
I'd be a little crass, but out of employers, the thought of, what's the other term is malicious compliance, right?
What's it called?
Malicious compliance.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a whole thing.
I'm going to look that up. Okay.
That's a whole workplace, work culture thing.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Where I'm ordering you to do this thing, and
you're like,
where the person knows this is going to be damaging actually to your goal, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not even going to tell you that it's going to be damaging to your goal because you're just trying to assert authority.
Well, I'll comply.
Right.
I don't know why you want this, but I'll comply. Interesting. Okay.
But I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people to quietly resist, right?
That's exactly.
And that moment will present itself, and it could
literally
be
on a daily basis.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could literally be forgetting to send an email that would cut off aid to something. You mean, or and by the way, they're doing this, and they're doing it overtly.
Yeah.
The people that want to destroy these institutions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the opportunities are going to present themselves. Somebody to call in sick a day that where they're supposed to do something that's where they have enough cover for to say, oh, I forgot this.
Yeah.
But have their moment.
Yeah.
Have their moment to just obstruct the bad people.
And you obviously think a lot for great reasons. You are an expert at the workplace aspects of this, right? Like my brain has been much more in the...
I'm talking about the Schedule F folks.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and sadly, those are not sadly, these poor people, sadly, in the sense that, God, they've got kids to feed and stressed out. I can't even imagine. So,
and you're, like it or not, you're in the fight.
No, they are the front lines.
Right.
I know. And let's give them what they need, right? Like those,
Right.
I know a lot of those people. I'm sure you do too, right? Like we're with you guys. Like anything you can do, let us support you. You're the front lines right now. What can we do to support you? But where I was going to go is there's just, I literally feel it's all of us on a daily basis, right? It's how we treat each other. It's how we take care of ourselves. I've been so inspired by some of the folks I know who are like, look, self-care with the goal of allowing yourself to be aware and present in the midst of a pretty overwhelming sandwich, right? That is an act of resistance. That walking in nature, treating people with a little extra kindness, that's how I think about this stuff. I'm going to be who I want to be. The
stupidest thing is for the greedy folks out there, you're actually giving yourself a gift. By being kind to other people.
It turns out.
I know.
That's right.
Oh my
it
God.
Works either way.
I get more out of this than actually the person getting
It's so true. It's so basic.
the kindness or
It's so basic. Right. It's so basic. But it's comforting in these moments to be like, you know what? I am going to do this thing right now. Yeah.
People in common.
Let's be people in common.
And let's go. And it doesn't have to be people in common.
Yeah.
It could be,
I
haven't posted a video on TikTok, but I think I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because these are kind of the moments will present themselves, and they'll present themselves for everybody to do something over and over.
Different.
In fact, I was watching Stephanie Rule on something. It might have been, I forget what, and somebody's like, oh, it's so bad and everything right now. And she goes, yeah, but we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
And what a great time if you care about things.
Yeah.
To,
What
to,
a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive if you're a
For
person
sure.
that cares about things and
Yeah.
wants to go out and make some positive impacts. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
like
there's
here-
opportunity.
yeah.
100%. Absolutely. And even
You're going to love it right now. There's so much opportunity. Yeah.
it's a bit like whack-a-mole, I'll be honest, right? I think that's what's so compelling about this exact moment. I'm like, let's start tomorrow, because it's overwhelming how much opportunity there is. But I think you're exactly right, that it's going to look different for each of us, and we're going to each find. It doesn't have to be the same as anyone else.
Let's hone that reflex of identifying when these moments come.
Totally.
And then diving in.
And I don't know, everybody has their version of this, but for me, watching Bishop Marianne Buddy, I just wept. Someone sent it to me. I hadn't even seen it real time. That's when I cry. That's almost always the right thing. It's, ooh, there it is.
Yeah.
There's the thing. And then you got the righteous anger, and you got we can all find that. It's just.
And
it's
we're there
getting
to support each other.
That's the people in common part. I think I have found just in these last months, starting actually, I was on the Harris Walz campaign in Arizona for a month leading up to the election.
Yes.
It was such an inspiring experience.
Wasn't it a wonderful? God, it was that moment was so exciting.
I was so inspired, especially by the swell of support, right? The people who, we had a cadre of us, all of my friends and family basically, emailing, calling, texting Arizona voters, getting on buses, coming to knock doors with us.
We did okay in Arizona, didn't we?
We did. We got a Senate
Yeah.
seat. We got a constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
Reproductive freedom is in the Arizona Constitution. We were so close on a couple of the congressional seats, so close. So that's all wonderful. Right. The point is, I have never felt better than when I was offering the chance and people were just jumping at the chance to do anything, to be part of something. This was our chance, right? And it was. And it was close. We didn't
It was
win.
really an inspiring, and it was an inspiring time.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't even know how to go there, of the world that we want to live in.
That's right. The positive vision.
You could see it.
Absolutely.
And you
At the
could
rallies.
almost reach out and grab
Ooh.
it, where people can be who they are and not who the norms demand they be.
Yeah.
Talking about the LGBTQ community plus, and just the whole, and that's why I love Gen Z. I love Gen Z so much because they're really open to they've figured out they have a much, and
don't get super hung up. They can so many good role models.
Of course they're figuring it out too, but it just really felt like we were cracking open the door. But now we're in the backwards phase.
Well, I think certainly for those community, right? The trans
I
community.
hope it's one step backwards.
Yeah, that's right. No, it is. We're just going to make it so. This is
women too, by the way.
Yeah. Shout out to women.
Shout out to women. I think a lot of women don't realize they're coming for you too.
Oh yeah. It's, I think if that's not clear, it's becoming clear.
Your Marissa Mayers or whatever. It's DEI, and you were part of that.
Yeah.
That created the space for you to fill.
Yeah. To fill.
Yes.
Fill. Boom.
That. But yeah, you're part. They're coming for you too.
Well, and I think this is the hardest part is we who have played identity politics and who have really
it worked well for a long time.
I think it did, right? For some of us, for some time it worked really well. This election, Arizona was such a good teachable moment for me on the folks who absolutely do not feel part of the coalition that we were fighting
The tradition,
for.
the coalition.
Well, just like there's a whole bunch of people who
Used
don't
to know who's who.
Well,
In other
there's
words,
folks
you
who
can
are
make
freaked out
you can
by
make certain
the-
assumptions through identity politics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
On where people, it was a shortcut.
Yeah. Well, I think that group of humans too, I'm thinking about a whole bunch of folks, young men are a pretty obviously rich discussion on right?
Two
Because
young
so many, so many people that I talk to, let's be honest, I was talking to their moms for the most part, right? About how it was so not obvious to them that they were in a privileged position and they should be
I
thanking
know.
their lucky stars, and that it's their job to then use all of that privilege that they didn't feel they had to then help their underprivileged brothers and sisters. And look, I am the so not expert on this, but what I did glimpse and I'm super interested to unpack is, there was clearly, how do we figure out an actual people in common? How do we figure out, instead of what we clearly were papering over, some pretty deep riffs and deep stuff that we have to figure out how
What's
to
the stuff?
actually...
What's the stuff?
I don't know. I think the
Right.
stuff is, this wasn't, I think this ultimately this...
You're on a podcast, so it doesn't have to be perfectly accurate.
or we're all just
Is this a
struggling here.
podcast? It is a
Are we?
podcast.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
Wait, who am I? I think the stuff is like all the ways in which this whole setup of not just this democracy, but the American experiment was not working for a lot of people.
For a long time. Yeah.
And in different ways. And I think that the hardest part is how complicated this is and how matrixed this is and how unsimple identity truly is, and who identifies in what, and how I got real uppity about how Trump told you that he wants to grab you by the pussy. I don't understand how we can. Would you want your son to act
Right.
like this? Those are the things for me, as a, not just as a woman, but those are the things that are most confusing to me. I just can't see how there's a positive vision for wanting that. But I think what I was missing is that I don't think there are very, very many, even true MAGAites, who are like, God, he's perfect and everything he says I love and I'm so behind. I think there's a way deeper than I understood, frustration and just disgust with a lot of things. And we who want to actually build instead of just rip down have to be able to come up with ways to talk to everybody.
At home, we call those the HTTs.
Ooh.
The holier than thous.
Ooh, I am definitely one of those. I'm definitely one. I'm working on it.
No.
I'm working on it.
No,
but-
which is the point. Because there's so many different things.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was born in the 60s. So I come from a not so perfect place. And and one thing, because it's complicated.
I think that's the point.
I am a white man who
Yeah.
lived through some pretty weird and chauvinistic macho times,
Yeah.
right? 70s, 80s, et cetera. And who was thought as one of the guys, right?
Sure. You can pass.
Yeah, no, because I can pass, right? But I'm also like Native American on my mother's side. My father's side immigrated to this country.
Wow. Yeah.
So I have a deeper perspective, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for me, like, the metaphor is pinup calendars, like the titty bikini calendars.
Love it. Where are we going? Yes.
And that was the culture.
Got
know?
it. Got it.
And
It's a symbol of.
if for
Yeah.
a certain group of people, like
Yeah.
whether you're a mechanic or whatever, like you had the booby calendar
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
toolbox or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how we were raising young men.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And that was the acceptable okay. And I think that there's pushback on I can't have my calendar anymore. You know?
Interesting. Yeah.
Instead of the conversation of your calendar was never good in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and I think that some people think that we're kind of a Me Too blowback phase
Yeah.
is a component
Yeah.
of
The
this
pendulum
time.
swing. I think that's a super interesting way to look at this stuff. But yeah, do you buy that? So then what happens next?
Well, so now we get to see it.
Yeah.
Like, talking about identity politics or just, what would it be, post-identity politics?
Yeah. The language is hard, right? Yeah. Super hard.
Well, nobody's, we're
figuring it out.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Is that in this particular moment, like, you get to see whose team you're on.
Yeah.
Because the Nazis are marching in public again.
I'm not on that team. I want to just be really clear.
Right.
Neo-Nazi or Nazi, whatever you call yourself, I'm not on your team.
You know what I've never been mistaken for doing is giving the Hitler salute. Ironically, nobody's ever said, "Hey, were you?" I wasn't
Phil,
sure.
I'm confused because it seemed close enough to the Nazi salute that I wondered.
Like waving, that's not the thing.
And it's not okay. It's not okay.
It's not okay.
Controversial.
It's not
to even
controversial.
get close
So
to being a Nazi. It's not okay.
Oh God,
Germans can tell you.
I could talk an hour just about that moment, but what I like is that going to the identity politics part, coming from the place of a white man, and I apologize. I don't mean to offend anybody. If you were Latino, I thought I was on your team, and
I was trying to be on your team. Yeah.
Well, like we had way more in common. I would assume you were like working class and cared about other people and whatever. Come to find out that there's a permission structure being built for bad people to go show who they are. And so I do appreciate that.
You appreciate?
I appreciate the fact that we get to see who's who now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting. I don't know if I appreciate
It's
that.
hard. It's hard because there's people we know.
You mean like if you don't believe in human dignity, please raise your hand because we are not team members.
Whereas before, and it used to be
interesting.
It used to be, oh, you're a woman. I assume that you're helpful towards women and that you care about women's issues. Or if you're Latino, that you would care about. And this, by the way, this is a white person problem in general. Is that you think all Latinos care about migrants. It's not the case.
Right. That is clear. Yeah.
But now at least we're in this weird time where people are like, it's okay to show that I'm a sexist or I'm a racist or whatever. And it's like,
permission is real. Yeah.
I did not know you were there, but thank you now because because
we're not on the same team.
We're not on the same team.
I think that's
and you motivate me to do two things: one, educate people, and two, avoid them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I need to think about that.
I'm shocked by what some people I really respect and care about, like where they've fallen on some of them.
Yeah. Well, there's so much. I'm not even sure where to engage yet. There's so much here. To me, it feels super simple. If you do not believe in your fellow human's dignity and personal autonomy, then we are not on the same team.
We're not even talking. We're not even talking about choice anymore.
Well, I just mean
just going to that point.
But yes, but choice included, like reproductive freedom. But I just mean
and women's
basic human dignity. If you do not believe we are equal and deserve equal respect and dignity for being human,
things like torture or self-governance, like the big things, right?
If we're not on the same page with that, it's certainly you're not welcome on the podcast. Number one.
Really?
I know. But we're not on the same team. And I'm not going to spend a lot of I don't have time for this. Okay.
Right.
But that's a pretty sadly low bar, right? To me, that's just table stake. That's a super low bar. I actually am interested. One of the things I'm exploring.
Yes.
Or I've thought about is, and this was always, the people in comment,
What's good is this is really deep. No one's ever going to.
I know, exactly. Exactly. Great.
By the way, hold the thought.
Please.
Is that these are the conversations, though, that we need to have because we need to stake out. There's been zero tolerance on certain things.
Yeah.
I am 100% sure that I'm a person of good faith and I'm constantly trying to improve and get on the right side of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And so if I misspeak
Yeah.
or if I'm ignorant,
Yeah. Please.
call me out,
Please. Yeah.
but welcome me for the good things, right? That I am well-intentioned.
I think throwing people away.
And we've been
is the
throwing
problem.
we've been throwing people away.
That's my point. Is
Right.
we're done with that. Like
The zero tolerance, like
if
we
you
disagree
are for
on
throwing
this.
people away,
Right.
we're not. We
We're never going to go anywhere.
Yeah. It's not that we don't have time for this. If you are, but if you're that again, say that's a tiny group of people. I hope, and saving aside that small group of humans, let's engage. Let's find. Like I want it. I'm super curious. I'm a like all in hell yes. Like when I know it when I cry, it's the real deal. Hell yes.
Yeah.
Like I feel it in my gut, and I want to talk to the people who feel that, who are that, people of good faith, of good heart, of good cheer, who I disagree with. And I'm trying to puzzle through like what. Again, podcast is one lens to do that, but just in general, like there are plenty of people in my like day-to-day experience who I fundamentally disagree with on a bunch of stuff. And we need to figure out how to be people in common. We need to figure out no more throwing people away.
Right.
If you make a small misstep, white men have it hard in that sense, right? I am all about calling out the ways that white men have it easiest. Let's do that. Also,
it's easy to talk about it as a white man because that's one part of our privilege.
It's part of your privilege, and use it. Use your privilege. Like, what is Maya Angelou's? Get enough courage to stand up for yourself, and then get enough courage to stand up for somebody else. That's the model, right? If you have privilege, shake what your mama gave you. Like that is the whole point. The trick is we cannot throw people away. We don't have that luxury. We on the left, the progressive left, whatever you want to call us, we've done a lot of that. We've done a lot of echo chamber.
Well, that and who said it? Like we sometimes voters like we're missionaries and not, yeah.
Wow, I'm guilty of that.
We all are. No, but
because that was the model.
That was the model. That was the model, and that was the legacy way of doing things. You know,
transactional kind of show up at the last minute and be like, "Come on, aren't you scared of the other guy?"
Yeah.
That clearly. Anyway, the answer is real community organizing. That was the saddest part of Arizona.
Instead of preaching, like listening.
That's exactly.
Isn't the trick? The trick's listening and not. Yeah.
And be there the whole time.
Be there the whole time.
Like obviously, as someone parachuting in for the last month, I was like, who has been here? Who can I learn from?
Right.
And whose efforts, having been here on the ground, being a person in this actual community, where can I find you so that I can offer I have a different skill set. I don't know these people, but I'm sure as hell excited to learn and help them.
I can get you informed and
I know how to organize. Yeah. Like we can, but we did our best, but
you did great.
We did something and I feel like I made a difference. Great. But the real work is figuring out how to support. I think, here's my theory.
Yes.
As Mother Teresa said, we've forgotten we belong to each other. If I had to define the root problem of everything that we face, all the problems, that is the root problem. We've forgotten that we belong to each other. And if that's true, then the only solution is connection and community, real community, in real life, step by step, over the long term, even if we don't, especially when we don't agree on everything. This is why I love church. It's intergenerational. We don't agree on everything. There's a huge spectrum. But we're going to do things together for other people because that's what Jesus told us to do. So we better do it.
And we belong
regardless
to each
of what
other.
we belong to each other. Now that is only one example. And there are so many good examples. But the bad examples are winning right now. And my whole approach is, how do we get out there and actually build community, actually offer the hand and offer the kindness and be respectful and build something that matters, real connection, not this
that's
surface
durable
level.
and that's deep.
That's right.
Right.
And that is also turns out how we win, not just elections, but this whole human thing, this whole human experiment, that's winning. That's so much more fun. It's so much better. It's so much better. And I've glimpsed it. The beloved community, I've glimpsed it. But that means everybody, no exceptions. Father Greg would say, like Martin Luther King would say, the throwing people away, regardless of which groups you want to throw away, it just doesn't work.
And from a practical standpoint, we're talking about 5% changes everything.
Electorally, you mean? Yeah.
Just voter-wise, yeah. Just
That's right. That's right.
and
That's
they're there.
Totally.
And they're
Totally.
right now. There are so many people at the MAGA party going, "What am I doing here?"
Yeah. Or like, ooh, wait, was that part of our plan? Like,
Yeah, I didn't. And they're like, "What am I doing here?" And we can't be in the place of, "I don't give a shit. You've sinned, and you're
Yeah.
forever." Having some grace is not the worst thing in the world either.
to your point, it's also. Right?
But that's the
What is
throwing
that
out
thing
zero
about-
tolerance, throwing
Yes.
people away.
Oh,
You know,
and it's so hard, Father Greg. I'm trying, but it's so hard.
Father-
But that's the answer. We know that's the answer, and it's science now proves that's the answer. All faiths have this as their core, right? The stranger and taking care of the stranger and being good to everyone, no exception. That's the core of everything.
and there are going to be times where the wrong thing will happen from trying to do the right thing.
Totally.
But
Totally.
math tells us that in the end you win, right?
The law of large numbers.
Much like a vaccine.
The arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice,
Yes.
right? Intention matters. Intention
Who was I listening
matters.
to? And they're like, turns out it goes all the way. The arc of justice spins all the way around into a circle.
Oh, dear. Like
Yeah.
rainbows. I didn't know that. I only learned
Wait, what?
recently. Rainbows are a circle. Boom. Dude, so we know this because when you have like deep crevices in the earth and waterfalls falling into them, rainbows happen and they are a circle.
Damn it.
What?
What are you doing for President's Day? It's pick your president. It doesn't have to be this president.
It's really funny. It was yesterday. I was at my.
It's a conversation.
It's a conversation. So the answer is I don't know yet, and great question because I will be spending it with family, but we will be. But yesterday I was in my daughter's kindergarten class, and it was President's Day, and we got to talk, and we talked about specifically George Washington and President Abraham Lincoln because that's their birthdays first, right? And we talked a lot about the 11-year-old girl who wrote Abraham Lincoln a letter and told him to grow a beard because people will like you better. Women will like you better.
Really?
Yes. She's the reason he grew a beard, and obviously.
Yeah.
And I did slip in, of course. And then he was able to free the slave. They were like, slavery? I'm like,
Yeah.
my children are pretty up on slavery.
Beards and slavery. No, and to the point of, and I'm reminded, and it hurts. It hurts so deep down that my wife and I have friends, and they did the Civil War wasn't about slavery thing. And these are people that you...
What was it about? Just curiosity. From their perspective.
The whole suppression of rights, and it was just more of an act of trying to, property rights and the federal / states' rights
States'
thing.
rights.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Although those rights
Pretty-
were to own human
property
beings.
rights, aka slavery. Yeah.
Slaves are my property.
Slaves, humans being property, which is.
Which, by the way, just to bring that to today,
Yeah.
when in the immigration debate, when they say we just want people to follow the law, what the right is saying, what Trump and company are saying, is everybody who came across the border is a criminal. So when they talk about criminals, they're not talking about what you and I think of as criminals. They're talking about all migrants. And a lot of people don't understand that.
It's a really good point. It's a really good point. And that's Bishop Marianne Buddy
And
said.
it will expose itself in times when people are questioning
Yeah.
and they go, well, crossing the border is, a crime.
Oh.
They're all criminals. When they talk about our country, they're not talking about Jama's country and Phil's country. They're talking about they're talking about their MAGA white male
Like only
titty-
white male property owners should vote.
titty in the country.
Yeah, take away the vote from.
It doesn't mean us.
Yeah, yeah,
They're not talking to us. They're talking to each other.
yeah. Interesting. I hadn't. You're right. You're right. The criminal.
They're
That's
all
a good
criminals.
example of
the
a
little,
fundamental.
the mother carrying her child, right, fleeing, fill in the blank,
Leave aside what they just. Yeah.
is a criminal
Yeah.
and deserves to be treated like a criminal, and that is rounded up and thrown back.
Yeah. That is. Again, we don't throw people away. That's not a thing.
They're people.
Turns out, that is. You're
But
right.
yeah, so when they talk about, well, we got to get rid of the criminals, it's all of them. It's
You're right, and that I'm thinking of when Bishop Marianne Buddy was talking about the majority of immigrants are not criminals. You're right. They dismissed everything she said after that because
they are all criminals in their mind,
that is so crazy.
because the act of coming here without permission,
Yeah.
regardless of reason,
Yeah.
makes you a criminal.
Well, but taking away birthright citizenship, which is
You're retroactively a criminal.
I'm sorry, in what way is
I
that
know.
your fault? It's hard. My point being, like, not only is that like a wildly unpopular, I dare you to try that.
No, but
jerks,
people don't.
but-
People don't. They're talking to each other, right?
That's right. Well, and I think part of what I'm interested in, and
We're
I
only
don't-
going to get rid of the criminals. And yeah, they're all
that's
criminals,
everybody.
yeah.
No, it's a dog whistle. It's
Yeah.
a way of saying. It's a way of
You can-
demonizing and
It's coded.
criminalizing
Right.
literally anyone who even because they're not just talking about the people who snuck across the border. The actual Arizona they lived through Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Their Trump is what they call it, right? And they figured, God bless them, they figured out how to organize and get that guy thrown out. But Sheriff Joe did not just stop actual, in their words, criminals. He stopped anybody with brown skin.
Right.
This is the part that I think is that this is the part where I like to tell myself that lots of folks who voted for voted for Trump hadn't read Project 2025,
Right.
hadn't
No,
signed
they're not on
for,
board. They're not on board.
hadn't signed on for being like this racist and fascist and right. So I think there's hope in that. I don't know
Right.
how to. Other than just saying, hey,
I'm not a dog show person.
where is he going with this?
I'm trying
I
to
love
find
this.
the thing that you know nothing about. Which
Yes,
is
ooh,
hard to
you're
find.
close. No,
Am I
you're
close?
Bless you.
But
for saying
within that world,
yeah, I have seen Best in Show though. Does that ruin it for
No,
you?
it doesn't.
Okay.
But I tried a sport. I forgot what it was. But everybody knows everything about that in that world.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so it's very common these days, especially on the right, when they say something, what it sounds like outside the community and when it sounds inside, it's coded, right? And
Well, this is you're literally defining dog whistle. You
Exactly,
are right. How
exactly.
ironic to choose.
well, a
That's
dog whistle,
good-
we can't hear the dog whistle.
Yeah.
And
We're all hearing it. We're just
using that
understanding
metaphor,
it different
it's too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not silent to one and sound to other. It's two different completely tones.
Yeah. The
you know?
words are the same, but the interpretation.
Like we're gonna help our
Yeah.
people.
Who are your people? Well, I think this is like what we were talking about before. Our people, right? I think that is what led us astray. Like, I think when I think about
we're gonna help our
building-
people. No.
Well, and I'd like to think on the left we were
Right.
defining that as everybody, but I don't think we were, if we're honest with ourselves. I think I know honesty is hard, but it's step one.
Right?
This is,
Is it step one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know. See? Serenity prayer? Can we? Okay, wait. And the courage to know the difference. I forget the first part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hashtag step one.
Hashtag.
Whatever that is.
Hashtag step one. Whatever step one is, do it. I
Yeah.
think honesty is step one. And I think the community building, I think there's, again, heroes who have been doing this forever, and I want to celebrate them and lift them up. I also want to ask them, what did we get wrong and what were we missing? Because there's a lot of our people, and I am the most guilty of it, right? We all retreat into our little silos. It's the easiest thing to do. It's a very human thing to do. Just like bias. Don't feel bad about
Right.
it. It's a human built-in thing. What your job
That's how we
is to
evolved in a way.
recognize it.
Right.
That's right. There's no point. I have a lot of guilt. There's no point in the guilt part of that. It's what are you doing about it? We're all biased. We're all racist. We're all sexist. We're all ist.
Ist?
We're istist. We're isties. But what are you going to do about it? Okay, fine. No guilt. Let's just, okay, fine. Now I'm going to decide to treat people with respect and dignity no matter what. No matter what. That's the goal.
Oh my God. It's so hard.
It is hard. It is hard.
It's
but
not
more
hard, but
fun.
it's yeah.
But it's honestly more fun, right? Again, with the times that I've glimpsed that promised land, that nirvana.
How can we Jerry Maguire Jeff Bezos or
Ooh.
the really complicated or not the opposite of complicated one is Zuckerberg.
Sure. Well, here's what I want to do is design a world where I don't have to spend all my time thinking and worrying about a few billionaires who run a lot of the world. That's the world I want to live in. Is I don't actually care that much. I don't want to care about what Elon Musk's latest whim is.
I know.
I do not. I want to live in a world where that doesn't affect millions of people. You do you.
Right. I want to live in a world where I
Go
know
to
that
Mars,
a
man.
community is making their own decisions and that it's on a semi-even playing field because it's never perfect.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to. I want to build that world
And that it's doing its due diligence, right?
and having a basic respect for humanity. Like it's not that hard or complicated, but that's the world I want to build, and I'm not.
The image that crystallizes this for the immigration debate for me is, and you may have seen it, is the image of the father face down in the river with his 4-year-old daughter tucked in his shirt, and they're both dead. And it's like, we have to see it, right? And he was trying to migrate to this country for opportunity for that little girl, and they both died doing it. And just face down in a river, and if you can't appreciate the humanity of what we have in common, I'm tempted to throw you away.
Yeah.
But and see, that's the thing though, because I truly believe that people want to be good.
I agree.
They do. And
I can't imagine anyone who can. I'm crying hearing you describe it. I have not, and I don't plan on seeing it because I don't know that I can handle it.
it's a lot. And at the time, and just in that moment, I'm like, this. Everybody needs to appreciate.
But you're right. Yeah.
The humanity of this, right?
Yeah.
And just really, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Let's make this concrete. How do we? You are the expert in this. How do we?
Expert of nothing.
How do we face that? How do we offer people the ability to experience that as the symbol like it is for you?
We give them the courage to look. Because it can't, it's unstoppable in the point of it that I don't think anybody,
if you are human,
I don't even think Trump could look at that and not get it. Yeah. And it's such a brutal thing that it literally just threw every defense and every conditioning, and it's just unstoppable to connect and really understand. It's just these are people that are hungry, It did nothing to anybody.
And
And-
as a parent,
And I know, no, I mean,
not that you have to be a parent, but as a parent,
as a parent, right?
because you would, I would do illegal things
Oh,
if my children were hungry.
of course.
If somebody was hurting them, that's most of
You
the cases.
can't-
When you talk to immigration lawyers,
Yeah.
that's most of the cases. We are talking about rape and incest and assault, right? Most of the cases.
These are what people are.
This is daily
Yeah.
occurrences. And guess what? If that was happening to my child, I would do illegal things.
Yeah. And
Every parent would.
yeah.
And to your point, if you look at that, the idea that anyone would, this is fun. This
Right.
is,
They did it or whatever.
Suckers. I got in here illegally, suckers.
Oh
said
my
no one
God.
ever. Like, and if there are people doing that to other people and they are immigrants, yes, I am for making sure we have a legal system that addresses crime. I'm for that.
Oh my God. It's like pro-abortion
That's right.
as
That's right.
a practice, right?
right. That's
Nobody. That's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's
not
not
a thing.
a thing.
But guess what? Talk to every person, but especially every woman. And we are walking around 2 weeks pregnant all the time, guys. And guess what? Like, we get to be in charge of that. It's just, it is, but
Well, and it's getting to fundamental things is, I think, as a society, we've gotten really bad at identifying bad faith.
say more.
Well, that I think that, especially in the age of social media, like certain people have gotten really good at, and they may honestly believe the things that they're espousing,
Yeah.
but that the appearance of being genuine and sincere sort of validates some very not genuine and sincere things. And I do think that, and whether it's that it's true, but it's still wildly funny that like groups of old white men decide women's health,
It would be funny. Yeah.
and that they're basing those decisions on what's best for women. They have no fucking idea what it's like to be a woman.
True that. True that.
I mean,
yeah. Not only that, but we don't actually have any research on what it's like to be a woman because women weren't studied. Even now, the funding, it's just fact, right?
Oh.
Just follow the money,
Right.
right? So why would
So
you
what-
think
so-
you would know?
so what is it about? Because obviously it's not about women. It's like, how
It's
do you
about
not
control.
identify
It's
that
about
these are
control.
people that are acting in bad faith?
Yeah, yeah. Look, power and control. And it's getting ugly out there. We gotta, anyway.
Whew.
Phil,
This has been a lot.
it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been
what do you
more than I
wanna ask
expected.
me or do like
So
if we think about like what does this look like going forward? What do you need out of it? What do you want to ask me?
I don't want to ask you anything. What can I
Okay.
do to help you organize and produce conversations with the good people, the people of good faith?
There you go. People of
And-
good faith. Yeah.
Because that's where, honestly, that's where we can have those conversations, right?
Yeah.
When they're in good faith.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. When we can agree to a baseline of
Like we're not going to lie to each other.
yeah, how about dignity and truth?
Where I can really respect people that disagree with me completely.
Totally.
But if it's coming from a place of good faith, you know.
Yeah, totally. Dream World, you have lots of this going on, Dream World, right? But in terms of you and me,
Okay, you and
your
me.
Dream World,
Phil and Jama.
yeah,
That you line up conversations with people,
yeah,
and I will
produce that.
record them,
Yeah,
and I will give you, and we will publish them,
yeah.
and I will give you as many tools as I can to help you spread them.
Put out the word. Amazing.
And also, part of the reason why podcasting works is your guests will appreciate the opportunity to spread their
Totally.
message, and that they pick it up as well. And we just
Yeah.
make that as frictionless as possible,
Totally.
especially in a world where there's going to be a lot of AI stuff.
Totally. But to your point, that makes the actual human stuff
Right. So I think
more valuable.
So
and important
Phil's
and- yeah,
big idea of the future is live,
Yeah.
or curated by people that I know are of good faith.
Yeah. You're saying your vision.
No, this isn't my vision. This is where I think everything's going to go.
I see.
Is that
I see. Oh, I got it. Okay. In an AI world,
in an
then
AI
you need
world,
to just uncurated live,
it's going to be live, recorded
it.
live, or curated by people that I know are good actors.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. And what do you?
In other words, it's going to be the old Twitter with the check mark.
Oh,
R.I.P. Remember that?
R.I.P. Twitter.
Oh, they got the check mark, so that's the real person.
Yeah, the real Phil.
Yeah.
The real deal.
Not AI.
Bots.
Yeah.
No, less bots. No bots.
Can
No
we
bots
just have
there.
a human, like a human check mark would be good.
Isn't that funny? It does, like, speaking of coming around again, like full circle, you're like, oh, wait, we'll just use humans.
Person
Weird.
or bot? So this looks, and that could be here.
Yeah.
That could be on a couple laptops, a world apart. However,
Yeah.
I can do any of that.
You can do anything.
yeah.
People can be anywhere. They can sit here. They can, okay.
There are differing levels of quality, but in the end, and I think everybody's own experience speaks to this, is if it's the right conversation, like nobody gives a shit. There's a lot we'll put up with.
You do your best to make it as high quality as possible.
I don't want the quality to, is for me, like the absolute pinnacle goal is that the quality isn't something that anybody thinks about.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's best when it's not noticed.
I hear the conversation.
Yeah, because
I don't think about that little hiss or the.
Amazing. Yeah.
Or even if two people that I really want to hear from, if they're talking in a phone call, it's like I don't even notice.
Yeah, totally. In Phil's ideal world, what is different in the world if People in Common gets out there and you and I team up and kick some ass?
I think it helps people in those moments of when the opportunities are going to present themselves to everyone.
Ooh.
Those moments, those little moments of the forks in the road, where they're going to have a choice of doing nothing and going along to get along.
Yep.
Or maybe putting themselves out there just enough. Yeah. Because I think for every person that puts them out there, right?
Yeah.
Two more will go.
That's right. That's right. No.
Everybody will feel a little bit safer doing it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And that's how movements start.
God bless you, Southern District of New York,
That's
which
right.
as a Teamster has a unique.
Oh, yeah.
And then you throw Giuliani into the mix too, and it gets complicated. So
sure, I know, folks. I worked for Bloomberg.
It's the
with
arc,
a bunch
but
of
again,
Giuliani folks.
we're back to the arc of history.
Wow. Yeah, that man took an arc. Oh, that's an arc, all right. And I'm not talking about Noah. Okay.
We haven't heard from him lately.
No.
And, you know, we will now.
You think so?
We put him in.
We
created
We've
it.
drawn him out. Maybe he'll have a change of heart. Maybe. Never mind. Miracles happen. I mean.
Thank you.
Phil, I'm excited.
Yes.
Let's freaking do this.
Stephanie ruled.
Let's go.
Got me going.
Stephanie. Ooh.
Right?
Stephanie. Yeah. But that's a perfect example of what you're talking about. Stephanie Rules saying out loud on a podcast that you were listening to.
Yeah, let's go do something.
That, what a
great
time to be alive.
Yeah, if you
Guess
care
what?
about doing.
If you care about doing shit, and you were like, I do care about doing shit. I'm going to email some people.
Well, and
here we are.
That came on the heels of Dana Chetta and I being in this room going, what are we going to do?
Yes. Never waste a good crisis. Each crisis is an opportunity, my friends.
I end up going to the Condoleezza Rice version of that.
Ooh,
you remember that one?
Condi.
Where she had the symbol of, and like, where the fuck are you, Condi Rice?
She's at Stanford. We could interview her.
Yeah, we need her.
She is actually a person of good faith. And that's actually a great freaking idea.
But she's
a lot.
It feels like she's like going along to get along. Like I
wonder. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to sit this one out because
she did.
I'm a target for many reasons.
She is. Yep.
Where I think that we could use her voice.
We could use her voice. Like you said, each of us is a droplet, and together we are the ocean.
And I love the Gaddafi obsession with her. It was fun. Wasn't it weird?
I missed that, I think.
Oh my God, you missed that?
I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah, you got to check that out. Anyway, thanks. We'll stop with the recording thing.
Amazing.
But let's go.
Okay, let's do this.
Right?
Let's do this. I'm going to email some peeps.
As Gen Z says.
Let's go. Let's go, people in common.
And we will make mistakes and And there'll be frustrations and misconnections.
Totally.
But
Totally.
yeah,
I'm not scared of that. I think one of the, like I said earlier, I don't have the ultimate vision perfectly painted about how exactly, like I always start with wild success. What is wild success?
well, you'll know
look
it when you
like?
get there, right?
Well, and that's my point. I feel like that's what stopped me from doing this. But I have somebody along for the ride. We're going to do this together.
Let's ride.
Let's ride and let's see where it takes us. Because honestly, I'm with you and I agree that if it changes a few minds, great. And let's look at how big we
Oh my
can
God,
go.
don't even get me started about podcasting, because the expectations is everybody wants to be Joe Rogan.
So I can promise you I don't want to be Joe Rogan.
Is that popular? Just be a popular idiot. But be big. And the truth is that you don't have to be big.
Yeah, I think that's right.
The expectation should never be to be big.
Yeah.
Because then, honestly, it's like you're doing things for the wrong reasons. So
It warps the incentive structure.
it does.
I think we share some values. I think we share some incentives of meeting this moment.
Yeah.
And let's see where it goes. Boom.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Go team. Let's go.
I'm so glad I sent you an email.
I am so glad you sent me an email.
Because it's who I want more of.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm going to email some people. And super practically, you can start, right? Let's do this anytime.
Tuesday.
We just need the freedom of you, me.
On the practical end, I'm
Yeah.
getting the scheduling tool laid out and
Yeah.
set up to where you'll be able to just go select a time,
Amazing.
and then
I will do your
we
tool.
will be all ready to go. So
Okay. Do you edit or do we,
Yes.
you can do it all?
I can do it all.
Holy shit. And you can really do it for free? That's amazing. I think there might be funding. But I've always thought
no.
this is
So,
fundable.
Let the funding come.
Yeah. But I think meeting this moment feels urgent and like you said, like
There's no point in waiting.
not that I won't put out some feelers, but I feel like we do just need to start and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay.
I'm not much of a planner.
I
I'm more of
am.
a doer.
I am. But
That's good.
But that's okay. But but even
let's
for
go fuck it up and wreck some shit.
let's just like start. Let's start. And the nice thing, I'll send you all of.
You've already got 3.
We've got 3 in there.
And are they on SoundCloud? I'm trying to remember.
They're everywhere. I'll say, how about this?
Is it published in Apple Pod?
It is, and I pay
okay.
Simplecast, and I like do all the.
Oh my God, let's get out of that.
It's totally. I'll send you. Let me send you like
Here's
all the things.
The part.
Talk to me.
What's worked best for
Yeah.
hosting is Spotify.
Great. Oh, I don't care.
I don't know.
I
I
just
don't know the politics of Spotify. I don't like the Joe Rogan-y stuff.
sure.
But it doesn't cost anything, and the
Great.
reach is broad.
Perfect.
And you still do all the Apple stuff and all that.
I was gonna
As
say
far
you
as
can
just
still
the-
post it It can still be available
Yes.
other places. But honestly, Apple and Spotify are those are the right. That's where most people.
Fucking
Right?
Apple did the Gulf of America.
No, they did not.
They did.
There's so many companies.
I thought Apple was better than that.
Maybe we should interview Costco. I love Costco.
Don't you love
They're like the
Costco?
only ones who are like, fuck
Very
you.
Teamster
Fuck
Costco.
you. We run our
And
company around here.
Who was I talking to? And we were like, fucking yay, Costco.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay, so I have no
Right, whatever.
attachments or needs. I'm happy to cancel.
I
I'm
should
gonna
know more about Spotify. It's just being a trade unionist. I like trying
As
to
a
be conscious
company.
of who I'm doing business with.
I can find out some things. I don't have a sense of aren't they
I would imagine they appear to me to be very neutral.
yes,
Like,
that's
we're
my
going to be
sense.
about like putting things out.
That's my sense.
And we're not going to decide.
And they do, I know for a fact,
They're
that
not Veritas.
they're not Veritas, but I know for a fact that they care about people are using their shit for bad. And
Yeah.
they do care about that.
Well, then that's all I need.
That's as long as they do something about it. Yeah, totally. No, I don't have a bad feeling about them, but I can send you. I'm going to send you all of my historical. Okay, that seemed like a lot. I'm just going to send you like the overview documents that I put together, like the guest brief and the overview of the podcast and sort of the vision
Right.
documents and and I'll send you the technical stuff that I like where it all lives and that
Oh, I
kind of
can
stuff.
just-
Yeah, you can probably. But then you tell me what to cancel and do, and Simplecast is the only thing I'm paying for, I think,
And
besides
so
my
the cool thing
website.
about Spotify is they've just decided to just host for free. And
Realize that.
the important things, one, they don't claim any rights to your content,
That's huge.
um,
That's huge.
which is honestly a deep pass or fail test.
Yeah, totally. And I appreciated that when you sent that. Jama, you can have ultimate control.
That's how I like to do things too, because
I love that, obviously, but I think I'm going to rely on...
I don't want to.
Yeah.
Well, because there's a certain got you of, we talked, and now I've got
totally.
your,
And I feel
I'm
the same with my guests.
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
grab
trying
it
to
and run
like...
with it,
Yeah, I'm not trying to... It doesn't serve me. I'm not here in this world to like pin people. I'm not an investigative journalist, right?
Well, the other thing is, and another conversation that I was having with somebody is, I don't want money.
Yeah. You need to eat.
I'm
but
not
you can
rich,
eat.
right?
Yeah.
I've got a good pension, and
Yes, I love that for you.
that helps. Yeah, but I'm not. Do I want to be successful? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not my motive at all.
Yeah. What is successful?
I don't know. Winning some elections.
That would be nice. That would be good. Yeah, totally. Totally.
And seeing good people winning,
Yeah.
not bad people winning.
Yeah. Are there lines that you have? I don't know. You are
Or the
no
money
longer.
thing. That's what fucking ruined the internet.
I agree.
Once
No, I
money,
agree.
once you could transact,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything went to shit.
Yeah. No, totally. Because it just warps the incentives. This garden that everybody talked about, I'm like,
It was a garden.
It was, but then you wanted
How old are you?
eyeballs and advertising.
You seem too young to like.
I was born in 1979.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got 10 years on you.
You and I like got that decade just by a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you like late 60s? Yeah.
Yeah. 69.
Totally.
Yeah. But
But
you were saying.
Well,
so,
I just wanted to ask, what's politically? Do you have ties you need to be respectful? Are there people that
you know
what I mean? What are your
I'm sensitive to
red
whatever
lines?
you're sensitive to, but
Yeah.
I don't worry about burning bridges.
Yeah.
Because the bridges that I could burn, I don't care about, and the ones that I would care about wouldn't burn.
There you go. Cool. That's a good place to be. I'm impressed.
Oh man, it hasn't come easy.
Yeah.
Part of that is like the whole turnover within the Teamsters Union too.
Yeah.
I have a lot of the whole. I think that I should write a book about the whole Teamsters for Harris experience.
I think you should.
Because they're literally,
at the very least, a blog post.
they're literally in the room to decide the endorsement, and I'm texting like 5 people from different parts of the country who are in that room.
Yeah.
Going, oh my God, this is, and it's just, and just the transactionalism of it is just so gross. From what was not,
so disappointing.
was not
Yeah.
transactional people.
Yeah. You're like, I thought I was not expecting this. Because we're watching that play out
But
everywhere.
the other thing is, and I'm a big believer in this, I've had early roots on the internet of like message boards and everything,
Yeah.
of that I respect anonymity, but I don't practice it.
Yeah.
Because I think it really takes away from the validity of the conversation.
Yeah.
I actually got sued in Tennessee over what anonymous people were saying on a message board that I had created.
Wow.
And it's like the whole Section 230 thing.
Yeah.
We were making law in Section 230 in E9 or
Right.
whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
230 needs to die.
Yeah. It's funny because everybody agreed. You know what I mean? Not everybody.
Well,
obviously.
almost everybody from everywhere agrees.
But it's
that-
like, but it's one of those, not just bipartisan, but completely everyone's just, but like everything, same with AI, right? You're like, guys, we're legislating from a basis of like horse and buggy, right? Like 230.
And by the time we get something done, which by the way, is what they're doing to government right now.
That's right.
Because they're burning it down, and we're talking about whether they have the right to burn it down or not. It will be burned to the ground.
By the time that question
Right.
is settled
So
by the
this-
Supreme Court, which would not, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. We got to do something.
The mind scrambler is presidential immunity. That's the one that's the baseline.
Yeah.
They literally took away gravity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, you can trace that all. It's crazy. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
But
Well,
now
let's get to work.
Let it begin.